Harper Lane never expected the end of her marriage to begin with 6 cold words delivered in a penthouse overlooking the Hudson River. "It's time you end the pregnancy." For a moment, she couldn't breathe. Her fingers tightened around the warm Starbucks cup she had picked up on the way home, hoping the peppermint latte would calm her morning sickness. Now it trembled violently in her hand, the heat seeping through the cardboard sleeve as if trying to keep her grounded. Adrian Cole stood across the marble kitchen island, his posture immaculate, his Rolex catching the glow of the Manhattan skyline behind him. He looked like a man rehearsing a press release, not a husband talking to his wife of 4 years. "Adrian, what did you just say?" Harper whispered. He exhaled sharply, annoyed she dared to question him. "I said it clearly. You're not ready. I'm not ready. And this baby," he paused, tapping his Mont Blanc pen against the counter, "will destroy everything I've built." Her heart thudded. "Everything you've built? Adrian, this is our child." "No," he said flatly. "This was your mistake, and I expect you to fix it." The sentence sliced through her like ice. Harper's entire world spun as nausea rolled up her throat. But this time it wasn't the pregnancy. It was betrayal. She backed away until her shoulder hit the glass wall overlooking the city. The lights of Manhattan blurred behind tears she refused to let fall. "I can't. I won't do that. I won't." Adrian blinked, expression stiffening into a colder version of itself. "Then you're choosing the wrong side, Harper." "The wrong side?" She pressed a hand against her stomach, instinctively protective. "I'm choosing my child." The moment the words left her lips, the air changed. Adrian's jaw clenched, his eyes hardening with a quiet rage she had only seen in flashes, never fully revealed until now. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a manila envelope, and tossed it onto the counter. Papers spilled out. "What is this?" she asked. "A medical appointment," he replied calmly. "Tomorrow morning. You'll sign the consent form there." Harper felt her pulse pound inside her ears. "You already scheduled it? Without even asking me?" "I don't need to ask," he said. "I need you to cooperate." Her Starbucks cup dropped. Coffee splashed across the tile like a small explosion. Harper didn't even flinch. She looked directly into the eyes of the man she once believed she would grow old with. "I won't do it." Adrian let out a short, humorless laugh. "Then you're about to learn what happens when you defy me." Harper didn't know what that meant yet. She just knew one thing. Tonight was the last night she would ever be the same woman again. The next morning, Harper woke to the faint hum of Manhattan traffic and a sharp ache beneath her ribs. She hadn't slept at all. Adrian had spent the night in his office, door slammed, lights off, leaving the apartment colder than usual, as if the heat had shut down with their marriage. When she stepped into the living room, he was already dressed in a tailored navy suit, scrolling through emails on his MacBook Pro. He didn't look up. "You're late," he said flatly. "For what?" Harper's voice cracked despite her attempt to steady it. "The appointment." He closed the laptop with a click that echoed like a verdict. "Get your coat. We don't have time for your emotions today." Her stomach twisted. She stood frozen near the kitchen island where her Starbucks spill from last night had dried into a brown stain she hadn't been able to clean. It felt symbolic, something broken, ignored, walked over. "Adrian, I told you I'm not going." This time he did look up. His eyes were steel. "You don't have a choice." "Yes," she said softly, placing a hand over her belly. "I do, and I choose my child." The silence that followed wasn't silent at all. It vibrated with anger, disbelief, and something far more dangerous, Adrian's pride cracking. He rose slowly, adjusting the cuff of his shirt. "You're being dramatic, irrational. You've always been too emotional for your own good." "I'm pregnant, Adrian, not irrational." He stepped closer, looming over her. "You think you can raise a child? You can barely handle your own life. You're one missed paycheck from falling apart." The words hit her harder than she expected, because they were true, at least the part about money. Adrian controlled their accounts, their investments, the apartment lease. He'd built everything in his name. She had trusted him blindly. He smirked when he saw her flinch. "Exactly. You're not equipped for this. Let the professionals handle decisions that matter." Her trembling stopped. Something inside her, something maternal, primal, locked into place. "You don't get to tell me what matters." His expression darkened. "Then we're done." He pulled the Cartier ring from her finger so quickly she gasped. "I'll file for divorce today, and trust me, Harper, I'll win." She swallowed hard, blinking back tears. "I'd rather be divorced than lose my child." Adrian stared at her, stunned not by her words, but by the fact she finally fought back, and for the first time he realized she wasn't afraid of him anymore. Harper didn't expect Adrian to move so fast. Within 24 hours of their fight, she received a freezing cold text that felt like a punch. "Your access to the joint account has been paused. Financial review. Don't make this harder." Paused. He made it sound like a software update, not the destruction of her ability to survive. Harper stood in the lobby of their Hudson Yards building, phone shaking in her hand, while New Yorkers brushed past her in a blur of impatient footsteps in winter coats. She tried the banking app again, same red message, same sinking dread in her stomach. She had exactly $182 in her personal account, money she'd set aside for groceries, prenatal vitamins, and the occasional Uber to her doctor's appointments. Nothing more. The doorman, sympathetic but bound by rules, cleared his throat. "Mrs. Cole, I'm sorry. Mr. Cole asked that we remove your name from the resident list until the leaseholder gives written approval." Leaseholder. Not husband. Not partner. Just a man who erased her with a signature. Harper forced a nod as he gently handed her the small suitcase she kept in the coat room. The one she used only for weekend trips or overnight weddings she planned for clients. Now it was the only thing she had. With a heavy breath, she stepped out onto the icy Manhattan sidewalk. The cold wind slapped her face instantly, stealing her warmth and what little strength she had left. She tried calling Adrian once, just once, straight to voicemail. Then came the next blow. Her event planning client messaged her through Instagram saying they had heard unsettling rumors about her mental stability and would be pausing the contract for everyone's safety. Vivian. It had to be Vivian. No one else had reason to sabotage her reputation. The sidewalk swayed. Harper grabbed a street lamp to steady herself as nausea surged. People rushed around her, but no one stopped. Manhattan didn't slow down for heartbreak, pregnancy, or cruelty. She found a small corner cafe and sank into a seat, hands trembling around a paper cup of hot water the barista offered when she saw Harper couldn't afford anything else. Her breath fogged the window as she stared blankly at traffic on 10th Avenue. She pressed a hand to her stomach, her only anchor. "I'm still here," she whispered. "And as long as you're here, I won't give up." For the first time since everything collapsed, she let herself cry. Not out of weakness, but because she refused to to break. By the time Harper reached the co-working studio she sometimes rented for client meetings, she already sensed something was wrong. The receptionist, usually warm, chatty, always asking about pregnancy cravings, avoided eye contact the moment Harper stepped inside. She pretended to type something fiercely on her keyboard. Harper offered a small, hopeful smile. "Hi, Madison. I'm just here to pick up the floral samples that came in yesterday." Madison swallowed, fingers pausing mid-air. "Harper, I don't think you're on the pickup list anymore." "What do you mean?" A manager appeared from the hallway holding a clipboard like it was a shield. "Mrs. Cole, we were informed by one of your clients that you're experiencing emotional instability." He lowered his voice, almost whispering. "Given the nature of event coordination, we have to maintain safety and reliability.
Until things clear up, we can't allow business bookings under your name."
Harper felt the words scraping against her ribs. "Who said that? Which client?" The manager shook his head quickly. "We can't disclose that." But Harper already knew. Vivian Cross. Who else had both motive and access? Not only had Adrian locked her out of their finances, Vivian had taken her career down in a single day. And it was working. Every rumor, every whisper, every concern was painting Harper as unstable. Exactly what Adrian needed for court. The manager held up a cardboard box. "We packed up your things." Inside were the tiny scraps of her hope, fabric swatches, half-written seating charts, leftover candles, the notebook where she'd scribbled baby name ideas when Adrian still pretended to care. Her throat tightened.
"Can I at least grab my mail?"
The manager exchanged a hesitant glance with Madison before handing her 2 envelopes. One was junk mail. The other froze her blood. A letter from a previous client terminating their contract effective immediately. Reason: concerns about professional reliability. Harper stepped outside, the city swallowing her with noise. She leaned against the brick wall, closing her eyes as cold air stung her cheeks. She wasn't just losing money. She was losing her reputation. In Manhattan, that was almost impossible to recover from. Her phone buzzed. A message, not from Adrian, not from family, from an unknown number. "You should have listened to him. This city isn't kind to women like you." Harper stared at the screen, breath hitching. This wasn't a warning. It was a threat. And someone wanted her to break before she ever made it to court.
The waiting room at New York Presbyterian Hospital felt too bright, too quiet, too painfully clean.
Harper sat hunched in a plastic chair, her hands pressed protectively over her stomach as she tried to steady her breathing. She hadn't intended to come here today, but after receiving the threatening text, her chest had tightened until she could barely pull in air. When the nurse called her name, she followed on trembling legs. The hallways blurred, her vision tunneled. She wasn't sure if it was stress, dehydration, or the pregnancy, but her body was waving a white flag. Inside the exam room, a doctor pulled open the curtain. Tall, composed, with kind eyes that held a strange mix of precision and quiet sorrow. "I'm Dr. Rowan Pierce," he said, offering a gentle handshake. "I hear you've been feeling faint?" Harper nodded, embarrassed. "I'm just overwhelmed."
"Everything's happening so fast."
He scanned her chart. "Stress can be dangerous during early pregnancy. I'd like to run a few tests." She hesitated. "I don't have insurance access right now. My husband, he froze everything." Something in Rowan's expression shifted, the way someone's face does when they recognize a story they've heard too many times. "Let me worry about the logistics. You worry about breathing." His tone wasn't pity. It was grounding, steadying. A tone that made her feel, for the first time in days, like she wasn't drowning alone.
He checked her vitals, then paused. Your blood pressure is elevated, you're dehydrated, and emotionally, he added gently, you're carrying too much. Harper blinked back tears. Someone's trying to destroy my life, and I don't know how to stop it. Rowan pulled a stool closer. Do you feel unsafe? I don't know, she whispered. Maybe.
I got a message today. I lost my clients, my home, my money, and my husband wants me to end this pregnancy. She couldn't say the word out loud. Rowan's jaw tightened, not in judgment, but in recognition. You're not the first woman to sit in this room after being cornered by someone who should have protected her. His words cracked something inside her. She inhaled shakily. I'm trying to be strong. For my baby. That strength is already there, he said softly. You walked in here. That tells me everything. For the first time since Adrian turned on her, Harper felt a flicker of something she thought she'd lost. Hope. Small, fragile, but alive. Harper didn't know how long she sat in the exam room after Rowan left to arrange her tests. The quiet felt heavy, almost sacred. For the first time in days, no one was yelling at her, judging her, or trying to erase her. She could hear only the rhythmic hum of the hospital ventilation and the faint thump of her own heartbeat. One she prayed was strong enough for two. When the door opened again, she straightened instinctively. Rowan stepped inside holding a small tablet. His expression was calm, measured, but there was something new in his eyes, something sharpened by concern. Harper, he said gently, there's something you need to see. He tapped the screen and a video clip loaded. The hospital's timestamp sat in the corner. The fluorescent lights were unmistakable. And then, Adrian's voice, clear, cold, commanding. Just sign the damn form, Harper. We don't have time for your emotions. Harper froze. Her breath snagged. She watched the blurred security footage. Herself sitting on the exam table weeks earlier, palms trembling, while Adrian towered over her. He shoved a clipboard toward her chest. You're going to end this pregnancy, he hissed. You owe me that. Her past self recoiled. Present-day Harper curled her fingers into her palms until they stung. I didn't know there was a camera, she whispered. There are cameras in every hallway for patient safety, Rowan explained. This one happened to capture his behavior. The hospital doesn't release footage easily, but given your situation and the way he spoke to you, I made a formal request. A wave of disbelief washed over her. Why would you do that for me? Rowan's voice lowered. Because what he did wasn't just unethical. It was coercive, dangerous, and it's not something you should face alone. Harper pressed a hand to her stomach, her pulse racing. This wasn't just evidence. This was protection. This was the first crack in Adrian's armor. But will it matter? She asked, her voice small. He has money, lawyers, influence. Truth matters, Rowan said firmly. And this is truth he can't manipulate. She took a shaky breath. For days, everything had fallen apart. Her home, her accounts, her reputation. But now, in the sterile glow of an exam room, she finally had something he couldn't steal. Proof. Proof she wasn't crazy. Proof she wasn't weak. Proof that the monster wasn't hiding in shadows anymore. For the first time, Harper whispered the words that had felt impossible until now. I'm going to fight him. Adrian Cole didn't like being disobeyed, and he liked even less that Harper had the audacity to walk away instead of collapsing the way he expected.
By the time she left the hospital that afternoon, he had already begun orchestrating the next move. One that would paint her as unstable, irrational, and unfit to be a mother.
Inside his Park Avenue office, Adrian paced while Vivian Cross scrolled through her iPhone, reading over a drafted statement. "If we release this to a few industry contacts," she said, "the narrative sticks. People already think event planners are emotionally volatile. It won't take much to push the idea further." Adrian stopped pacing. "It needs to be airtight, no loopholes she can use." Vivian smirked. "Trust me, I'm very good at ruining people quietly." He didn't laugh. "You said the co-working studio already revoked her access." "Yes," she replied. "And 2 of her clients have paused contracts. A couple more, and she'll look professionally unstable. Judges hate instability." Adrian exhaled with satisfaction. "Good. She wants to choose her child? Fine. She can raise it without career, home, or credibility." Vivian hesitated for the first time. "And if she tries to use the hospital incident against you?" "She won't," Adrian snapped. "She's too naive. And even if she tries, who's going to believe a woman who can't keep her emotions under control?" Vivian's gaze flickered. Something uneasy crossed her face. Old ghosts, old threats. But she pushed it down. "Then I'll start spreading the amplified version. Subtle mental health implications. Whisper campaigns. Nothing traceable." "Perfect," Adrian said. He returned to his desk, flipping through a folder labeled Custody Strategy. His lawyer had already drawn up early drafts. Adrian circled one recommendation with a Mont Blanc pen. Seek full custody on grounds of maternal instability. He could almost taste victory. Meanwhile, across the city, Harper sat in a small waiting area outside the hospital pharmacy, holding the prenatal vitamins Rowan insisted she take. She didn't know that at this exact moment, her husband and his mistress were preparing to annihilate her reputation. She only knew her chest felt tight, as if the air itself were warning her. Her phone buzzed. Another unknown message. "They're not done with you." Harper shivered. For once, she believed it. But what Adrian didn't know, what Vivienne didn't see, was that Harper wasn't the same terrified woman from weeks ago. They weren't the only ones preparing for a fight. By the time Harper reached the temporary room she was renting in a friend's apartment, the city had already dipped into its bitter winter dusk. Manhattan's skyline glowed like a jeweled cage, beautiful, glittering, and merciless. She sank onto the small twin bed, the springs creaking under her weight, and pressed both hands over her belly. She told herself to breathe. She told herself she was safe, but the truth was, she wasn't sure anymore. Her phone buzzed again, another unknown number. "You're not stable enough to raise a child. Everyone can see it." The words cut deeper than they should have, because somewhere in the darkest part of her fears, she wondered whether Adrian had been planting that idea inside her for years. Gaslighting didn't start with shouting. It started with subtle doubts, whispered slowly, until they felt like her own thoughts. She turned the phone face down and curled forward, trying to stretch out the stabbing ache beneath her ribs. The stress was beginning to affect her more physically, tightness, nausea, sudden dizziness. Rowan's warning echoed in her memory. Stress like this can become dangerous. You have to protect your body, Harper. But how could she protect herself when every corner of her life was collapsing? A loud knock startled her. Fear bolted through her chest. Had Adrian found her? Had Vivienne sent someone? She approached the door slowly, holding her breath. "Who is it?" "It's me," her friend Melissa called gently.
I brought soup. You didn't eat all day." Harper sagged with relief and opened the door. Melissa stepped inside, her expression full of concern. "Harper, you look exhausted. Are you sure you shouldn't stay with your family?" Harper shook her head. "My mom's too sick, and Adrian would use that as proof I can't survive without help." Melissa hesitated before setting the soup down. "Are you sure he won't try to take the baby?" The question pierced her, because she wasn't sure, not even close. Tears finally spilled over, hot and uncontrollable. She sat on the edge of the bed, shoulders shaking. "He's destroying everything, Mel. My work, my reputation, my name."
"And I don't know how far he'll go." Melissa knelt beside her.
"Then you can't fight him alone. You need someone who knows how to handle men like him." Harper thought of Rowan, his steady voice, his calm eyes, his unwavering belief that she wasn't broken. For the first time, she whispered the possibility aloud. "Maybe I do." Vivian Cross stared at her reflection in the marble bathroom of a midtown cocktail lounge, lipstick perfectly drawn, curls cascading over her shoulders like she was preparing for a magazine shoot. But the moment she blinked, her expression cracked just slightly, just enough to reveal the fear underneath the gloss. She had received the same anonymous message Harper did. Not a warning, a reminder. You know what he's capable of. Don't get in his way. And she did know, better than anyone.
A memory she tried to bury clawed back. Standing in a clinic room 2 years earlier, Adrian gripping her wrist so tightly she bruised for days. His voice had been the same cold steel he used on Harper. "You will end this. Do you hear me? Don't get sentimental." Back then, she obeyed. She thought it made her powerful, above consequences, above morality, above the women who fell apart. But now, watching Harper crumble under Adrian's crushing tactics stirred something Vivian hated feeling. Guilt, and something sharper, fear that she might be next. Her phone buzzed, another text from Adrian. "Dinner tonight. Bring the revised statement. We need to finish the narrative before she files anything." Narrative. That was what he called Harper's life. A storyline he controlled, a script he wrote, a problem he intended to erase. Vivian stepped out of the restroom, heels clicking on polished tile. She returned to her table where her untouched martini sat sweating against the glass. She lifted it with shaky fingers, but set it down again. She couldn't drink, not with this knot of dread twisting in her stomach. Her assistant slid into the seat across from her. "The press contacts are ready whenever you give the signal. They're expecting something big." Vivian swallowed. "Yeah, big." But suddenly, the idea of sabotaging Harper didn't feel strategic. It felt monstrous. She had been Harper once, terrified, isolated, powerless against a man who hid cruelty behind charm. Her assistant leaned forward. "Vivian, you okay?" "No," she admitted quietly. "Not even close." Because for the first time, she was realizing something she had never allowed herself to consider. If Adrian could destroy Harper for defying him, he could destroy her too. And Adrian never left loose ends. Vivian stared at her martini, pulse racing. Maybe helping him wasn't the safest choice anymore. Maybe turning on him was the only way to survive. Harper stared at the dimly lit ceiling of Melissa's spare room, unable to sleep. The city's distant sirens and the low hum of traffic blended into a restless soundtrack that mirrored the chaos inside her chest. She kept replaying Rowan's words, that she wasn't alone,
that what Adrian did was coercive, that the truth mattered. But truth alone wouldn't save her in a courtroom. She needed proof Adrian couldn't twist, proof he couldn't manipulate. And then she remembered something, a faint, barely there memory. Months ago, Adrian had left his old MacBook Pro on the hallway table while rushing out the door. He told her he no longer used it, that everything had been transferred to his new corporate laptop.
He never mentioned what happened to the old one afterward. Melissa poked her head in through the doorway. "You okay? You're pacing. Do you still have that tech box in your closet? The one from when you moved?" Melissa blinked.
Yeah? Why?
"I need a charger for Adrian's old laptop. I think I still have it in my suitcase." Within minutes, Harper sat cross-legged on the floor, heart pounding as the MacBook screen lit up. Adrian had never bothered to update the password. He believed she would never dare look. But desperation created courage. The desktop was cluttered with files labeled in ways only he would understand. She opened folder after folder, receipts, transfers, encrypted documents. Most of it seemed like normal corporate clutter, until she clicked a folder titled Consulting Expenses, Discretionary. Her breath caught.
There were transfers, large ones, sent monthly to an account under the name V Cross Media Services, Vivian's company. Tens of thousands of dollars, more than PR consulting could possibly justify. Then came the real shock, a spreadsheet where Adrian tracked the money as non-disclosed investor funds. Her stomach twisted. He wasn't just funding Vivian's lifestyle. He was using investor capital to do it. This wasn't infidelity. This was financial misconduct, federal-level trouble. Harper covered her mouth with her hand, pulse thundering. Adrian had always claimed she was the liability, the emotional one, the unsteady one. But here it was, proof he was the unstable one. Proof he was a risk to everyone. Melissa knelt beside her. "Harper, what is all that?" "Evidence," Harper whispered.
Evidence he can't bury. For the first time since losing her home, her income, her safety, she felt something fierce fill her lungs. Power. Vivian Cross arrived at Adrian's Park Avenue office with a confidence she didn't truly feel. Her heels clicked sharply against the polished floor, echoing like forced bravado. She'd spent the last hour reapplying makeup she didn't need, anything to hide the unease tightening her chest. Adrian barely looked up when she entered. He was on a video call with a potential investor, voice smooth, charming, controlled. A performance, always a performance. Vivian sat in the leather chair across from him, crossing her legs with deliberate grace. But as the call ended, she noticed something she had never seen before. Adrian's hand trembled when he closed his laptop. Not much, just enough to expose a crack in his perfect facade.
"What's wrong?"
She asked lightly. "Nothing," he snapped, adjusting his cuffs. "We have work to do. I need that press narrative finalized." Vivian hesitated.
"Adrian, maybe we should slow down. The rumors are spreading too fast. People are asking questions."
"Good," he said sharply. "Questions create pressure. Pressure breaks people, and Harper needs to break before she tries anything stupid." A chill climbed her spine. She had heard that tone before. Once, it was aimed at her. Vivian cleared her throat.
"And the transfers? Are you sure everything is clean on your end?"
His eyes snapped toward her, hard, dangerous. "Why would you ask me that?" She forced a careless shrug.
"Because I don't want your mess landing on me."
Adrian stood, pacing. "The investors trust me.
They don't need to know how the funds are allocated.
They only see results, and I deliver results. But Vivian heard the slip, trust, not trusted. Something was changing. Something he wasn't admitting. She pulled out her iPhone, pretending to check emails, but really reading the anonymous message again.
He will turn on you the moment you stop being useful. Her heart hammered, because now she believed it. Vivian studied Adrian's profile, the clenched jaw, the twitch in his temple, the frantic tapping of his Mont Blanc pen. He wasn't in control. He was spiraling, and he didn't even know it. Adrian, she said softly, maybe we should consider a different approach, something less dangerous. He stopped pacing and glared at her as if she were the enemy. I don't pay you to be afraid. No, she thought bitterly. You pay me to stay blind.
And for the first time, Vivian realized she was done being his accomplice, because soon she might have to become his enemy. The winter wind cut through Harper's coat as she stepped out of the subway near the hospital, clutching the medical folder Rowan had prepared for her. She had woken that morning with a pounding headache, swollen fingers, and a tightness in her chest she couldn't shake. Stress was carving itself into her body deeper each day. She pushed through the hospital's revolving doors, but halfway across the lobby, her vision blurred. The world tilted. A wave of dizziness slammed into her, forcing her to grip a nearby railing to stay upright. A nurse noticed immediately. "Ma'am, are you okay?" I just need a moment," Harper whispered, but her knees buckled as she said it. The nurse called for help. Within seconds, Harper was in a wheelchair being rushed down a hallway awash in bright fluorescent lights. Fear clawed at her throat. She wasn't afraid for herself. She was terrified for the tiny heartbeat depending on her. Inside an exam room, Rowan entered quickly, concern etched into every line of his face. "Harper, look at me. What happened?" She struggled to breathe evenly.
Dizziness. Chest tight. I haven't slept. Everything keeps getting worse. Rowan gently placed a hand on her shoulder, grounding her. "You're showing signs of acute stress response, and your blood pressure is higher today. This is your body telling us it's had enough." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I'm trying. I swear I'm trying." "I know," he said softly. "But stress of this magnitude, constant fear, instability, threats, it's not just emotional. It becomes physical."
And pregnancy amplifies everything. He ordered immediate monitoring. Electrodes were placed on her chest. A cuff tightened around her arm. The machine beeped in uneven rhythms that mirrored her panic.
"Is the baby okay?"
she choked out. Rowan's voice steadied her like a hand over a flame. "The baby's holding on. But Harper, if this continues, you could be at risk for preterm labor." Her breath shattered. Not now. Not like this. Adrian had already taken everything else. He wouldn't take this too. Rowan pulled his stool close. "You need protection. Real protection. Legal, medical, emotional. You cannot keep fighting him alone." Harper closed her eyes, gripping the edges of the bed. "I don't know how." Rowan's reply was calm, resolute. "You let me help you. And tomorrow, we start building a wall he cannot break." For the first time, she let herself lean into someone's strength, because her own was running out. Harper sat in the consultation room Rowan had reserved inside the hospital's family legal center, one she didn't even know existed until today. The room felt impossibly quiet, insulated from the chaos of Manhattan beyond the frosted glass windows. Her palms were damp,
her heartbeat loud enough to drown out the low hum of the air system. Rowan entered with a thick manila folder and a look she had only seen once before, the look of someone preparing for battle on someone else's behalf. "Harper," he began gently, "we're no longer reacting to what Adrian does. Starting today, we move first." Her breath snagged. "I'm scared, Rowan." "I know," he said, pulling a chair beside her instead of across from her.
But fear doesn't mean lack of strength. It means you've been surviving in a war you didn't choose. He opened the folder. Inside were copies of the security footage, her medical stress reports, and the financial documents she extracted from Adrian's MacBook. Seeing it all together made her chest tighten. Proof of everything she'd endured, laid out in cold ink. "We'll bring in a family law attorney I trust," Rowan said. "Someone who specializes in coercion cases. These documents show patterns: control, manipulation, emotional endangerment." Harper swallowed hard. "Will it matter in court?" "It matters everywhere," he said firmly. "Judges don't look kindly on men who weaponize power against pregnant women." A knock sounded at the door. A woman entered, mid-40s, sharp suit, intelligent eyes. "I'm Maya Jensen," she introduced herself. "Rowan briefed me." "I'm here to protect you." Harper blinked.
Protect me? Yes, Maya said, taking a seat. Starting with filing a preliminary injunction to prevent your husband from contacting you until we establish boundaries. It also restricts him from accessing medical information unless you consent. Harper stared at her, stunned. The idea of protection felt foreign, luxurious almost. Can we really stop him? Maya nodded. With the evidence you have? Absolutely. Rowan slid a document toward Harper. You don't have to decide everything today. Just breathe. We make one choice at a time. She traced a trembling finger over the edge of the paper. For weeks, her life had spiraled downward. One humiliation, one loss, one attack after another. But now, in this quiet room, something shifted. Not safety, not victory, but possibility. I want to fight, she whispered. Rowan offered a small, steady smile.
Maya uncapped her pen. Then let's begin, Maya said.
Today is the day Adrian loses control. And for the first time, Harper believed it. Adrian Cole always prided himself on being ahead of everyone, smarter, faster, more strategic. But that illusion began cracking the moment he walked into the emergency board meeting at his Park Avenue firm and saw every investor staring at him with thinly veiled suspicion. He adjusted his tie, masking irritation. What's this about? I wasn't informed. One of the senior partners slid a printed email across the table. You were informed. You just ignored it. Adrian's jaw flexed as he snatched the paper. His eyes skimmed the words, frozen, then widened. It was a forwarded message, a summary of financial discrepancies, transfers mislabeled, funds diverted, and at the bottom, a note. These documents were anonymously submitted for internal review. We request an immediate audit. His pulse spiked. This is nothing, a misunderstanding. Is it? Another investor asked. Because the timing is interesting. He felt sweat gathering beneath his collar. Explain. With your wife preparing to file protective orders, the partner said coolly, we must ensure no legal exposure affects the firm. Adrian froze mid-breath. How the hell do you know about my wife? He demanded. One of the investors leaned back. New York talks, Adrian. And her doctor filed a stress report. Pregnant, under duress. He tapped a pen on the table. Bad optics. Very bad. Vivian, sitting near the end of the table, kept her expression perfectly neutral. But inside, panic flared. She hadn't expected the board to learn everything this quickly. Adrian scanned the room, 12 faces, none sympathetic.
For the first time, he sensed something terrifying. He was losing control of the narrative. "We're initiating a full audit," the partner declared. "Effective immediately. Corporate counsel will lead it." Adrian slammed his hand on the table. "This is absurd. You're taking her word? She's unstable." Vivian's breath caught. He was unraveling publicly. The partner raised a brow. "Your wife provided video evidence of coercion during a medical appointment. The hospital confirmed its authenticity." Vivian's heart nearly stopped. So Harper had evidence. Strong evidence. And the board had seen it. "Until the audit concludes," the partner continued, "you're suspended from all financial decision-making." Adrian went still. Dead still. Suspended from his own company. He looked toward Vivian, silently demanding support. But Vivian lowered her gaze. She couldn't save him. Not this time. Not when saving him meant sinking with him. For the first time, Adrian realized. The dominoes were falling, and he was standing at the center. The conference room at Maya Jensen's law firm overlooked Midtown. Sleek glass walls, polished oak table, a skyline that made anyone feel small. But for the first time, Harper didn't feel small at all. She felt present, grounded, supported. Maya stood beside her, reviewing the last page of the preliminary petition. Rowan sat across the table, hands folded, eyes steady on her. Their quiet confidence wrapped around her like armor. "Harper," Maya said gently, "remember, you don't have to be aggressive. Just honest. The truth is on your side." Harper swallowed hard. "I'm ready." Moments later, the door opened and Adrian walked in, with the same arrogance he wore like cologne. Expensive suit, sharp jaw, cold eyes. But today, there was something else, too. A flicker of panic buried under the surface. "Really, Harper?" he sneered. "Dragging strangers into our private issues?" "These strangers," Maya replied coolly, "are here to protect her from you." Adrian smirked. Protect her from what? Emotion? Irrationality? Rowan leaned forward supply. From coercion, from threats, from endangerment of a pregnant woman. Adrian stiffened. Maya slid the petition across the table. "We're filing for a temporary restraining order today. Harper will retain full medical autonomy. You are not permitted to contact her until the hearing." Adrian laughed, but it cracked halfway through. "On what grounds?" Harper reached into her folder with trembling hands, but for once, the tremble wasn't fear. It was strength waking up inside her. She placed a single USB drive on the table. "The grounds," she said softly, "are your own actions." Maya added, "Hospital security footage confirms coercive behavior. It's admissible. The board of your firm already received the summary." Adrian's face drained of color. You think this will hold up? You think anyone will believe?" "I believe her," Rowan said firmly. "And so will the court," Maya added. Harper finally lifted her gaze. "You told me I'd regret choosing my child. But the only thing I regret is letting you make me feel small for so long." Adrian opened his mouth, but no words came. Because in this room, this expensive, glass-walled monument to power, the power was no longer his. Harper stood. Her knees didn't shake,
Her voice didn't falter. "The next time we meet, Adrian," she said quietly, "we'll be in front of a judge." And for the first time, he believed her.
Adrian Cole had always believed his empire was unshakable. He built it on polished presentations, carefully curated charm, and a Rolodex of investors who adored the illusion of brilliance. But now, as he sat alone in his darkened office, the illusion flickered like a dying light bulb. Suspended. The word echoed in his skull like a hammer strike. He slammed his fist onto the desk, rattling the framed photo of himself shaking hands with a senator. That photo used to make him proud. Now it mocked him. How had this happened? How had Harper, the quiet, obedient, predictable Harper, become a threat? He opened his laptop and scanned his overflowing inbox. Subject: urgent, audit inquiry. Subject: clarification required, transfer documentation. Subject: media request for comment. His throat tightened. The board had leaked something. They had to. And if the press caught wind of investor fund misuse, he could lose everything. The office door creaked open. Vivian stepped inside, her expression unreadable beneath flawless makeup. "We need to talk," she said. "About what?" he snapped. "About how my firm is staging a coup, or how my wife is trying to ruin me?" Vivian folded her arms. "Maybe they're reacting to the evidence she has." His eyes narrowed. "What do you know about evidence?" She hesitated, a dangerous move. Adrian rose slowly, studying her with the precision of a predator. "You're scared," he said quietly. "Why?" Vivian forced a breath. "Because you're unraveling, Adrian. And when you unravel, you drag people down with you." He stepped closer. "You wouldn't dare betray me." "You betrayed me first," she said, voice cracking. "You think I forgot? The clinic? The threats?" "The way you made me feel disposable?" For a moment, Adrian's mask slipped. His expression shifted from irritation to raw fury. "You're nothing without me," he hissed. "And you," she whispered, "are nothing without control." She backed away, hand trembling around her phone. "The narrative you want me to release? I won't do it. I'm done helping you destroy her." Adrian's jaw twitched. "You're making a mistake." Vivian met his glare with something new, resolve. "No, I'm correcting one." She turned and left, heels clicking down the hallway like a countdown. Adrian stood frozen. Vivian was no longer covering for him. The board no longer trusted him. Harper was no longer afraid of him. For the first time in his life, Adrian Cole realized he was the one losing power. Snow had begun to fall over Manhattan, dusting the sidewalks with a thin, glittering layer by the time Harper stepped out of the family law center. She tugged her coat tighter, the cold air hitting her lungs like a warning. The day had been long, emotionally draining, legally heavy, but for once the heaviness didn't crush her. It steadied her. She was halfway down the block when she saw him. Adrian. Leaning against a black Mercedes S-Class, suit dusted with snow, collar open. Eyes wild in a way she hadn't seen since the night he demanded she end the pregnancy. He pushed off the car the moment he spotted her. "Harper, we need to talk." Her stomach clenched. She glanced around, pulse spiking. "You're violating the order." "I don't care." His breath came out in sharp clouds. I didn't know you'd actually go through with dragging my name through the mud." She stared at him, stunned.
You think I dragged your name? You did that all by yourself. Adrian raked a shaking hand through his hair. The board suspended me. Investors are panicking. Reporters keep circling the building. Vivian... He stopped abruptly. She's turned on me. Harper felt a strange sense of justice wash over her. Slow, cold, satisfying. She told them everything, Adrian continued, voice fraying. The transfers, the threats, even the clinic. And now everyone thinks I'm... His voice cracked. A monster. You are a monster, Harper said softly. No anger, no venom, just truth. He flinched as if she'd slapped him, snow collecting on his lashes. Harper, please. I never meant for things to go this far. Yes, she said, you did. You meant every word, every threat,
Every attempt to destroy me so you could live the life you wanted. Adrian stepped closer, desperation bleeding through the cracks in his composure. Let me explain. We can fix this. We can still be... We're nothing, she said, voice steady. And we never will be again. Silence settled between them, heavy as the falling snow. Then Adrian's last shield, his pride, collapsed. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry, Harper. She believed he meant it, but she also knew it didn't matter. Your apology doesn't heal what you broke, she said. Not in me, and not in our child. Adrian's shoulders sagged. His breath hitched. For the first time, the man who controlled everything had lost the one thing he couldn't reclaim: power over her. Harper had barely stepped into Melissa's apartment when a sharp pain sliced through her lower abdomen. Not the dull ache she'd grown used to. This one was deeper, heavy, rhythmic. Wrong. She gripped the edge of the kitchen counter, breath catching in her throat. Melissa rushed over. Harper? What's happening? I don't know, Harper whispered, bending forward. Something's not right. Another wave hit, harder this time. Her vision blurred, the room tilted, panic surged through her chest. We're going to the hospital, Melissa said firmly, grabbing her coat. But before she could take a step, Harper's phone buzzed. A call. Not from Adrian. From Rowan. She answered with shaking fingers. Rowan? 1 second of silence told him everything. Harper, listen to me. You're in distress. You need to get to New York Presbyterian immediately. I'm on my way. The pain intensified, ripping through her like lightning. Melissa guided her toward the elevator, supporting most of her weight. Outside, snow drifted through the air, blanketing the city in white. A quiet contrast to the storm tearing through Harper's body. They reached the hospital just as another contraction hit. Nurses rushed forward, easing her into a wheelchair. The world became a blur of bright lights and urgent voices. Blood pressure elevated. Get fetal monitoring. She's 31 weeks. Call Dr. Pierce. Harper tried to focus, but fear tightened around her chest. Her baby, her entire reason for surviving, was coming too soon. Rowan appeared moments later, breathless, snow still clinging to his coat. He knelt beside her bed, eyes steady, grounding. Harper, look at me. You're not alone. We're going to take care of you and the baby. A tear slid down her cheek. I'm scared. I know, he said softly. But fear doesn't mean weakness. You've held yourself together through things that would break most people. Tonight is no different. The machines beeped steadily, echoing her pulse. Nurses adjusted monitors, IV lines, airflow. Harper clenched Rowan's hand as another wave of pain tore through her. Is my baby okay?
she gasped. Rowan squeezed her hand. We're doing everything to keep both of you safe. Right now, that's what matters. Harper shut her eyes, letting the steady rhythm of his voice anchor her through the chaos. Everything Adrian had taken from her, home, money, security, meant nothing in this moment. All that mattered was the tiny heartbeat fighting alongside her. And Harper knew, with a certainty she'd never felt before, she wasn't breaking. She was surviving. Morning light filtered through the hospital window when Harper finally opened her eyes.
Her body ached, her throat felt raw,
But the rhythmic beep of the fetal monitor soothed her. The contractions had slowed. The danger wasn't gone, but for now, the crisis was under control. Rowan entered quietly, holding a cup of warm water. You scared all of us last night, he said softly. But you stabilized. The baby's holding strong. Relief flooded her so quickly it stung behind her eyes. Thank you for not leaving. I wasn't going anywhere, he replied, voice gentle enough to steady her breathing. Before Harper could respond, Maya Jensen stepped into the room, a stack of papers in hand and an expression that carried both exhaustion and triumph. Harper, we need to talk. The judge expedited the hearing because of your medical emergency. Harper struggled to sit up. Melissa adjusted her pillows. The hearing. Now? Maya nodded. This morning. And you won. Harper froze.
What? Rowan smiled softly, standing at her side. Maya continued, each word landing like a weight lifted from Harper's chest. The court granted a temporary full custody order in your favor. Adrian is legally barred from making decisions regarding your pregnancy or contacting you directly. Harper's breath trembled. He can't reach me? He can't take anything else? No, Maya said firmly. The judge reviewed the medical records, the stress reports, the video evidence, and your husband's financial discrepancies. His credibility is fractured. The court ruled that his involvement poses emotional and medical risk to you and the baby. Harper covered her face with her hands, overwhelmed. Not grief, not fear. Relief. Pure, almost painful relief. Melissa clasped her shoulder. You're safe now. Really safe. Maya added. And there's more. The audit at Adrian's firm escalated.
Federal investigators were notified. It appears someone, likely Vivian, submitted additional documents. He's facing potential charges. Harper lowered her hands, stunned. She helped? She protected herself, Maya replied. But in doing so, she protected you too. Harper exhaled, long and shaky. For weeks, she had lived in constant dread, every message, every threat, every manipulated rumor pulling her deeper into fear. But now, for the first time, something shifted inside her. A door closing, a chain breaking, a future opening. Rowan rested a gentle hand on hers. Harper, you fought for your child, and today the court recognized that. Tears filled her eyes. I'm finally free. No, Rowan corrected softly. You're finally beginning. 3 weeks later, the world outside the hospital seemed impossibly calm. Central Park trees dusted with early spring buds, sunlight spilling across the sidewalks, people walking without knowing the storm Harper had survived. She sat on a bench wrapped in a soft blanket Rowan had brought, her newborn daughter sleeping peacefully against her chest. She studied the tiny face, the faint crease between her brows, the gentle flutter of her eyelashes. A life that shouldn't have survived the cruelty thrown at them, Yet here she was, warm, breathing, safe. Rowan sat beside her, keeping a respectful distance, but close enough that she felt anchored. "How are you feeling?" he asked softly. "Tired," Harper admitted with a small smile. "But free. I didn't think I'd ever feel that again." He watched her for a long moment, something thoughtful in his eyes.
You earned this peace, Harper, every inch of it.
She exhaled shakily, letting the words settle. She wasn't used to being told she deserved anything. Adrian had trained her to believe she earned only what he allowed. But that was over. A notification buzzed on her phone. Harper hesitated before checking. It was a news alert. Former CEO Adrian Cole faces federal charges for investor fraud. Insiders confirm whistleblower provided irrefutable evidence. Vivian's doing, no doubt. Harper stared at the headline, feeling no satisfaction, only closure. Adrian wasn't her burden anymore. His downfall belonged to him, built by his own hands, shaped by his own cruelty. Melissa texted next. "I'm so proud of you. Drinks on me when you're ready. Non-alcoholic, of course. Love you." Harper smiled. Then Rowan shifted closer.
Can I tell you something?
She turned to him, heart tugging in a way she didn't expect. "Of course."
"When you came into my care, I saw someone drowning, but you fought harder than anyone I've ever seen," he said quietly. "And watching you hold your daughter now, it feels like watching the ending you always deserved." Her throat tightened. "I wouldn't have made it without you." "You made it because you refused to break," he corrected gently. "I just walked beside you." Their eyes met, steady, warm, full of unspoken promise. "Harper," he said softly, "when you're ready, I'd like to be part of her life, and yours, in whatever way you'll allow." Tears slipped down her cheeks, but this time they weren't from fear. "I think," she whispered, "I'd like that." And as her daughter stirred softly in her arms, Harper Lane finally felt it. Not survival, not relief,
But the beginning of a life built from her own strength. A life she chose. A life she earned. The story closes here, and if you're still with us right now, my friend, it means something in Harper's journey touched your heart in a quiet, personal way. Maybe it reminded you of your own strength. Maybe it reminded you that surviving doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. Harper's fight teaches us a truth the Stoics repeated for centuries. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius said that whatever stands in our path becomes the path itself. Harper didn't choose her suffering, but she chose what to do with it. And sometimes, that's all any of us can do. Her story is a reminder that even when people try to diminish you, manipulate you, or erase your voice, your worth isn't something they get to decide. You don't have to be perfect to start again. You just have to take the next honest step. If this journey touched you, share it with someone who might need strength tonight. Like the video, leave a comment telling us how you're feeling, and don't forget to subscribe because we're building a community where healing, courage, and truth always have a home. We're here with you. Always. This story is a work of fiction, created solely for emotional storytelling and viewer reflection. All characters, events, and situations are imaginary and not based on any real individuals or real legal cases. Any resemblance to actual people or events is purely coincidental. The narrative is designed to explore themes of resilience, personal growth,
and emotional healing in a dramatic format for entertainment purposes.
It does not provide legal, medical, or psychological advice, nor does it depict real organizations, real court rulings, or real medical procedures. The intention behind the story is to inspire viewers, encourage deeper self-reflection, and create a safe space for meaningful conversations about strength, boundaries, and courage. Viewer discretion is advised, and audiences are encouraged to seek professional support for any real-life concerns. Thank you for supporting creative storytelling on this channel.